Welcome back, horror fans. I'm so glad you stopped by. Today we're having a look at one of my favorite indie horror series. Welcome to Silver Falls. This beautiful yet eerie town is nestled high in the mountains, and for years the residents have experienced paranormal activity that is usually accompanied by the sightings of UFOs. Each game in this fascinating series takes place at different points throughout time and follows different characters who reside in Silver Falls. Created by legendary developer Sungrand Studios, this unique genre-crossing horror series is currently available on the Switch. Unfortunately, part of the Silver Falls library is exclusive to the 3DS and the Wii U. As these online storefronts are now closed, some of these great games can now only be enjoyed using emulation. We'll talk about all that and more, and we'll also have a look at some of the unofficial Silver Falls homebrew games. So without any further ado, let's have a look at the first game on our list. The first game I want to have a look at is Silver Falls Episode Prelude. Now this game isn't the first in the series, but as the name suggests, Silver Falls Episode Prelude is an excellent introduction to the Silver Falls universe. Episode Prelude follows protagonist Romanic Rodriguez, a college student who works as a fast food delivery man to help make ends meet. One night, Romanic finds himself making a late night delivery to a repeat customer who lives on the outskirts of town. But as Romanic attempts to make the delivery, he eventually finds himself entangled in a supernatural fight for his life. The bulk of the game sees the player attempting entry to the customer's house. He's a regular, and Romanic grows more and more concerned as the customer is nowhere to be found. The gameplay is very similar to classic survival horror games from the early 2000s. As Romanic, the player must search the property and find a way inside the house. As is the case in all survival horror games, thorough exploration is heavily recommended. Guns and ammunition are very limited, so it's important to collect as many weapons and health pickups as possible. As you explore your surroundings, Romanic will receive numerous messages from his boss. These back and forth conversations help to build Romanic's character, and in my opinion, were a clever way to divulge information about him to the player. Now, responding to these messages is optional, but choosing not to respond does have consequences, and will actually change the ending of the game. The first chunk of the game is kind of a slow burn, so when you finally encounter your first enemy, players may be unprepared for the intense combat the game features. The combat is nerve-wracking and, in my opinion, intentionally clunky, just like survival horror games from the PS1 era. The enemies are brutal and unrelenting, and will sometimes tackle you to the ground and maul you. This is where a good stockpile of weapons comes in useful, as you can set a weapon as an emergency backup that Romanic will use if he's in a pinch. When this occurs, the weapon will break, but they also deal a devastating amount of damage to the enemy. Casual gamers may find the combat a bit frustrating, but survival horror veterans will appreciate the challenging and brutal enemies that can only be described as hideous, Lovecraftian nightmares. Once you've beaten story mode, you'll unlock battle mode. In battle mode, you'll face waves of enemies and must survive for as long as possible. Battle mode features numerous playable characters that can be customized and equipped with various skills and weapons. Each Silver Falls game also has a feature that's called the Code Linker. The code linker system in each Silver Falls title will provide codes that can then be entered into other games that will unlock new weapons, characters, and levels. The code linker system is a super cool feature that gives each Silver Falls title an insane amount of replay value. This is one of my favorite elements of the Silver Falls universe. I had a blast playing episode Prelude. This is one that I would highly recommend horror fans check out. It's quite short, but the fun gameplay and awesome story make for a compelling playthrough. Currently, Silver Falls episode Prelude is available on the Switch for the low cost of $7.99. Okay, next up, we're having a look at one of my personal favorites. Let's play Silver Falls Ghoul Busters. This side-scrolling platformer follows best friends Atticus Longdraw and Starlin Alderdice. Late one night, the two youngsters are hanging out in their tree fort when bloodthirsty creatures suddenly begin attacking them. You have the option to play as Starlin or Atticus. Both characters are very competent, but they do have very different playstyles. As Atticus, you defeat enemies using your trusty slingshot. Playing as Atticus allows the player to defeat enemies from a long, safe range, along with the added convenience of having unlimited ammo. Starling, on the other hand, has a hockey stick that acts as a close-quarters melee weapon. Starlin's attacks are far more powerful than Atticus's slingshot, but you must get up close and personal with your enemies to use it effectively. Throughout each level, you must battle numerous monsters of all different shapes and sizes. You'll also have to navigate your way through complex platforming sections. These parts can be tricky and require precise timing and execution. Throughout each level, there's also numerous bottle caps that are scattered about that can be collected. These bottle caps are actually quite vital to find, as they can be used as currency and allow you to purchase secondary weapons and upgrades in between levels. These purchases are one-time use items, such as umbrellas, throwing stars, or running shoes. Parts of this game are incredibly hard, so making good use of these items is 100% necessary. And of course, at the end of each level, you must then face a stage boss. The boss fights are one of my favorite parts about this game. They're challenging, but never so hard where the game stops being fun. You always feel as though you have a fair fighting chance. Now, while most of the Silver Falls series takes place during present times, Ghoul Busters takes place during the mid-90s. Throughout the game, you'll have the chance to interact and talk to younger versions of characters from the Silver Falls universe. 1990s nostalgia spills over into the game's graphics as well. Ghoul Busters is clearly a love letter to the era when the original Game Boy was top dog in the realm of handheld gaming. Silver Falls Ghoul Busters was first released for the 3DS, but it is now available on the Switch. I recently beat this game on my 3DS on a long flight, but I decided to invest in the version for the Switch so I could capture some footage for this video. And let me tell you, the Switch port does not disappoint. The Switch port looks and plays great. Plus, there's new color palettes and video filters that weren't available in the original 3DS version. Despite the game being quite difficult and a little unforgiving at times, I would still highly recommend checking out Silver Falls Ghoul Busters. Currently, you can pick up Ghoul Busters on the Switch for $15.99. Up next, we have another retro classic. Let's play Silver Falls, Undertakers. This was the second title in the Silver Falls series, and once again, we're transported back in time. The story is set in the early 1980s, and follows our protagonist, Bull Brandish. Now, for those who have played 3 Down Stars, which is the first in the Silver Falls series, they may remember Bull, as he was a recurring character that played a large role in Holt's storyline. Undertakers, however, takes place decades earlier, when Bull Brandish was still just a little boy. One night, while camping in the woods with a friend, they witnessed a strange explosion in the sky. Bull ventured out to investigate, but soon discovered that the entire forest had become infested with strange Lovecraftian monsters that he calls the Undertakers. The entire game is an impressive retro time capsule, as the interface and the sandbox world is created with the clear intention of replicating the experiences that gamers had back in the 80s on the Atari 2600. As Bull, you must explore the 4-bit world and solve the mystery of the Undertakers. Similar to other Atari games of the era, you can only carry one item at a time. Some of these items are weapons that can be used for self-defense, while other items are needed to progress the storyline. As you navigate the 4-bit world, you will come across massive pits that can be entered and explored. Inside these pits, you'll find hidden items needed to progress the story, but you will also find lost children who have been kidnapped by the Undertakers. Rescuing these wayward kids eventually becomes your main mission within the game. And speaking of the Undertakers, you have to especially watch out for the big ones. If you come across one and they see you, they'll snatch you up and dump you into a random pit. Now, despite the old 4-bit graphics, encounters with these creatures are actually quite terrifying, as you really have no effective way of fighting them off. All you can do is run and hope that they don't see you. I honestly had a really fun time playing this game. The massive open world is fun to explore, and the story makes for a compelling playthrough. Like most Atari games from this era, you can't save, but you can easily beat the game in only a couple of hours. On the official Silver Falls website, there's even a full map available. Undertakers has a massive world, and it's very easy to misplace your character. So referencing this map if you're lost makes the game 10 times easier. If you're serious about beating it, I'd highly recommend using this feature. Now, Silver Falls Undertakers features more than one game mode. Game Mode A is the story mode, but Game Mode B is a completely different experience where you must battle waves of enemies and survive for as long as possible. Once again, different characters for Game Mode B can be unlocked using the code linker system. This is a simple yet fun minigame that is a great bonus and provides plenty of replay value for what is already a great game. My first time playing Undertakers was on my 3DS, but this classic was eventually ported to the Wii U as well. That's what you're seeing here. The gameplay in both versions is pretty much the same, but the Wii U has a third game mode called Survive Versus that wasn't available in the 3DS version. In this mode, up to 4 players can work together and battle a 5th player who has the ability to spawn monsters around the map. It's actually a very clever use of the Wii U's unique features. Using original Wii remotes, 1 to 4 players navigate their way across a new map that has 3D modern graphics. Meanwhile, the player who's in charge of spawning the monsters uses the Wii U gamepad to monitor the other players in real time. You then simply spawn monsters in strategic locations across the map and attempt to kill the other players. This third game mode is exclusive to the Wii U and is a super cool bonus that makes this version worth picking up. Unfortunately, this amazing indie horror game is currently unavailable to buy on any modern consoles. Now in the past, Sungrand Studios has hinted that Undertakers may one day be ported to the Switch. I'm not sure if there's still plans for that, so we'll have to wait and see. But let's keep our fingers crossed. I have a feeling if this ever came to the Switch, it would be a massive hit. Up next, we have another Silver Falls title that is actually 3 games in one. This entry comes with 2 LCD-style minigames and a third game called Frontier Guardians. Get ready to play Silver Falls Guardians and Metal Exterminators. The first game that we'll look at is Silver Falls Guardians. In this mini LCD game, you play as a character named Oxa. And like in all LCD games, your mission is to simply survive for as long as possible and acquire a high score. Terrifying creatures will descend from the top of the screen, along with deadly spikes. Oxa can shield herself from these falling spikes and destroy the creatures once they're close enough, using her special weapon, the Cryo Shield. The game is extremely easy at first, but gets increasingly difficult with each passing minute. This is a fun little minigame, and is my favorite between the 2 LCD options. The other LCD game is called Silver Falls Metal Exterminators. This LCD game is a bit tougher than Guardians. You play as a character named Ghoul, who's equipped with his trusty electro gun. Monsters will attack horizontally from right to left. There's once again spike projectiles that Ghoul must dodge as he's unable to shield himself. The upside to playing as Ghoul is that you can destroy monsters from a long range with your gun, but you're left much more open for attack as you have no shield. The second LCD game is a bit more interesting as there's just more going on, but my favorite is still Guardians. The third game, Frontier Guardians, is an action RPG and is the real meat and potatoes of this Silver Falls entry. The backstory is that Oxa and Ghoul, who were the characters from the LCD games, had met up one night for a blind date. Things were going well until they saw an explosion at the ranch where Oxa works. The pair went to investigate, only to find the ranch teeming with hideous monsters. Now they find themselves in a supernatural fight for their very lives. The game's home base screen is a camp that Oxa and Ghoul have set up. Once again, there's a raging campfire in the middle. If you hadn't noticed, the campfire home base screen is kind of an ongoing theme in the Silver Falls series. Here, at home base camp, you can upgrade characters and weapons. There's also a vending machine where you can purchase various power-ups and additional weapons. Home base camp is also where you can change characters. You start off as Oxa, but can switch to Ghoul whenever you want. Additional characters can also be unlocked by completing various challenges or using the code linker system. You can even play as monsters, although I haven't made it that far. By simply walking into the forest, you then begin the next match. You're given the option to choose which challenge that you want to complete. There's a variety of different missions available, but certain ones must be completed to progress the storyline. There's many different maps that all take place on different parts of the ranch. Some missions will have the player hunt down a predetermined number of monsters, while the goal in other missions is to simply collect a certain number of items. There's usually fun side missions as well, such as Don't Step on the Flowers or Protect the Goat. These silly side missions are kind of dumb, but they do help to lighten the mood, and I did appreciate them. Despite taking place outdoors, Guardian Frontiers has a real dungeon crawler feel to it. It's a ton of fun to play, and extremely addicting once you get a hang of it. This game was originally released for the 3DS. In fact, it was one of the last games released digitally before the store closed only weeks later. Thankfully, it's since been ported to the Switch. Now, I've played this game way more on my 3DS, but I picked up the Switch port for this video, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed. The graphics have been completely overhauled, and new characters and features have also been added. Apparently, the story has also doubled in size, which gives people who have already played this on the 3DS a reason to replay it on the Switch. The price is a bit steep at $27.99, but I'd still highly recommend checking it out. Take it from me, if you're a fan of the Silver Falls series, then this is an absolute must-play game. Up next, we have Silver Falls Gaiden and Silver Falls Ruby River. This entry is 2 games in 1, so we'll play and review each game separately. Silver Falls Gaiden, Deathly Delusion Destroyers, is a battle RPG that makes good use of the 3DS's twin screens. Taking place after the events of 3 Down Stars, you create and control different battle parties that are made up of characters from the Silver Falls universe. The story follows protagonist Gus Ironcock, whose world is flipped upside down when his husband goes missing in the forest. The search party camp acts as the game's home base screen. From here, you can upgrade and purchase new weapons, as well as buy other items, such as health power-ups. You can also upgrade or swap characters from your battle party. From base camp, you can also leave and head to the local diner. Here, you can speak to other members of the search party and learn more about the strange lore of Silver Falls. Some characters will also gift you items that can be used to upgrade weapons and craft new supplies. When you enter battle mode, you're given different options and levels of difficulty. Certain battles are there simply to grind and earn experience, while other battles must be completed to further progress the storyline. During battle mode, you hold the 3DS sideways as hordes of enemies will attack you from left to right. Each character in your party has a regular attack as well as a special attack that must be charged up. Furthermore, some characters can only use long-range weapons, while others are restricted to close quarters melee attacks. You simply tap the screen in the direction that you want your character to attack. The longer that you allow your character to charge will dictate how powerful their attack is. The battles are a lot of fun and extremely user-friendly. Once you get a hang of it, you'll find that the gameplay is actually very addicting. I myself had a hard time putting down my 3DS. Between battles, story events take place. As you progress, more and more people will join the search party, and as this happens, we're treated to deep and thought-provoking conversations that take place between different residents of Silver Falls. Now, I haven't beaten Silver Falls Gaiden, but I have spent many hours grinding and leveling up my top 4 characters. I've had a lot of fun playing this one, and if it was still available, I would highly recommend checking it out. Alright, now let's have a look at the second game, Silver Falls Ruby River. This is a first-person, open-world survival game. Explore a massive world set in the forests that surround Silver Falls. Harvest materials from trees, plants, and anything else that you can find. As you collect different materials, you can then craft both weapons and armor. You can also create structures and small buildings. To survive, you must also ensure that your character has warmth and that he stays nourished. You even have to make sure that he has enough sleep. Hunt and forage as you explore the woods. Return then to your makeshift home and cook a variety of different dishes. But watch out, You're not alone in these woods. At any point, grotesque monsters can emerge from the tree line and begin attacking you. You begin the game with only a hatchet, but you'll want to create other weapons as soon as possible to fend off the different creatures stalking the woods. Silver Falls Ruby River truly is a relaxing game. The atmosphere and setting is incredibly laid back and gives the player a chance to enjoy life at a slower pace. I had a lot of fun playing this one and would definitely recommend it. Unfortunately, Silver Falls Gaiden and Ruby River were both exclusive to the 3DS, and neither one has received a port to the Switch. This is one that will probably never leave the 3DS, but you never know. I think both of these games are definitely possible on the Switch. Okay, up next, we have Silver Falls, Galaxy Bound Curse. This horror RPG is a free homebrew made using the Game Boy Studio. You can run it on a Game Boy emulator, or you can put it on a flash card and play it on a Game Boy Color. The story takes place back in the 90s. One night at a bar, some locals are celebrating as one of their own has just become a new father with the birth of his first son. Out of nowhere, a young man comes running into the bar crying for help. He frantically explains that the boy he's been babysitting has just been abducted. Immediately, the sheriff who happened to be at the bar snaps into action and begins his mission to rescue the missing child. Now, as Sheriff Fred, you must attempt to track down the local who has allegedly kidnapped the child. The sheriff suspects a man named Eli, who has a long checkered past. As you explore the massive 8-bit world of Silver Falls, you can add different characters to your party. You can only have one party member at a time, but you can head back into town whenever you want and quickly swap them out. Now this is another Silver Falls game that I still haven't completely beat, but so far I've really enjoyed the gameplay and storyline. I thought Galaxy Bound Curse would be a short and easy to beat game, but I was surprised to find that this is a retro experience that contains a fully fleshed out storyline. I would highly recommend checking out Silver Falls Galaxy Bound Curse. Currently, you can download this game for free from the official Silver Falls website or from itch.io. Up next, we have Silver Falls Frontier Fighters Mini. This is a turn-based survival horror RPG game that was specifically made for retro emulation handhelds. Numerous handheld systems can also run Frontier Fighters Mini, including the 3DS, the PS Vita, and the Switch. You also have the option to play this through the browser on your PC or smartphone. The entire game is an extremely shorter and more stripped down version of Silver Falls 3 Down Stars. You'll get to play tiny chunks of the original story, but don't worry, playing this first won't spoil the narrative in 3 Down Stars. As you explore areas of Silver Falls, you'll be attacked by mutated animals and other monstrous creatures. Battle is a classic turn-based interface, like Pokemon or the old Final Fantasy games. Frontier Fighters Mini is a fun little minigame that can be completed in less than an hour. Once you beat the story, you'll also unlock a second game mode where you can play as different characters and must survive waves of different enemies. And yes, Frontier Fighters Mini even has a code linker system. It truly is quite the little minigame. Frontier Fighters Mini truly is a hidden gem and is a must-play game for fans of the Silver Falls series. I really was shocked just how fun and competent this little minigame was. You don't expect much from web browser games, but I guess there's a first time for everything. If you're interested, head to the official Silver Falls website and download this game for free. Okay, up next, we have Silver Falls Diamond Island. Now, this game hasn't actually been released yet. The gameplay you're seeing was uploaded to YouTube from Sungrand Studios back in 2020. The developer describes Diamond Island as a first-person survival game. It was previously planned for the Switch, but since this teaser trailer, there haven't been any more updates. For this reason, I'm not sure if Diamond Island is still slated for release. The gameplay actually looks very similar to another Silver Falls game called Ruby River, which was a 3DS exclusive. So it's possible that Sungrand Studios simply got a stripped-down version of Diamond Island running on the 3DS and then just renamed it Ruby River. I have no idea if Diamond Island will ever actually be released on the Switch, but judging by the graphics, this game looks absolutely amazing. It would definitely be a welcome addition to my Silver Falls library of games. But Diamond Island isn't the only unreleased Silver Falls game that Sungrand Studios has teased. There's also Silver Falls Lucid Nightmare, a game where you play as a wheelchair-bound protagonist who must solve different puzzles in order to escape their predicament. Then there's Silver Falls Deadly Shadows. This game is described as a classic 90s survival horror experience. I can only assume that means there'll be tank controls with classic PS1 era graphics. There's even a farming sim called Silver Falls Golden Ridge Ranch. Now, the developer hasn't given any recent updates on any of these games, so once again, I'm not sure if these will actually be released. All we can do is cross our fingers and hope. Oh, I almost forgot. The official Silver Falls website also features 2 more games that are unreleased. There's Silver Falls Face Takers, which sounds absolutely horrifying, and Silver Falls Duck Season. I haven't been able to find any more information about Duck Season or Face Takers, but if they're featured on the official Silver Falls website, I'm hopeful that one day we'll see their release. Second last on our list, we have a special one. Get ready for Silver Falls, White Inside Its Umbra. Now, if the name sounds kind of strange and nonsensical, that's because, well, it is. This was a Wii U exclusive, and the word Wii U is also a clever abbreviation for the game's title, White Inside Its Umbra. In fact, this was the very last game ever released for the Wii U. It was launched February of 2023, not long before the eShop's closure. So, needless to say, this game is kind of special. But what truly makes this game amazing is how Sungrand Studios was able to implement some of the many unique features available on the Wii U. The story takes place 6 months before the events of Three Down Stars. You take control of Bjorna Hancock, a part-time waitress and horse trainer. Bjorna's cousin has recently went missing and was last seen entering the forests of Silver Falls. Now, along with other residents from town, Bjorna must search the woods and find her misplaced cousin. As per usual, this game features more than one play mode. In story mode, you of course play as Bjorna, and must stumble through the dark woods in search of your cousin. To illuminate your path, you have nothing but your flashlight. The flashlight is controlled using the motion-sensing Wii remote. As you point the remote in different directions, Bjorna will follow suit with her flashlight. To move around, you have the option of using the Wii Nunchuck or the Wii U Gamepad, but personally, I enjoyed using the Nunchuck. As you navigate your way through the woods, you'll also come across other members from the search party. When this happens, you can interact with these NPCs. Some will gift you items, while others will need assistance. These side missions are optional, but some must be completed to move on. When you encounter an enemy, you can draw your weapon and use the Wii remote to aim and fire. Melee weapons can also be used by swinging the nunchuck. These enemy encounters are few and far in between, but when they happen, they are some of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had while playing video games. The creatures that attack you go down pretty easy, but the combat is disorienting and extremely unnerving. The forest is pitch black except for the beam of your flashlight. If they attack you head on, they're pretty easy to kill, but if they sneak up on you, it can take a while to turn around and confront them. Once again, the clunky battle only adds to the atmosphere and makes the game that much more scary. Another super interesting feature is your in-game tablet, or as the game calls it, your tech pad. To make the experience more immersive, your Wii U gamepad acts as your interface. The in-game tech pad is one of my favorite parts about this game. I think it's a really cool, unique feature. On your tablet, you have various apps available. Some are just for fun, but others are crucial if you want to beat the game, such as your flashlight, GPS, or satellite. Your tech pad also features several minigames. There's Pony Petter, there's Moose Match, and Octo Fighter. This one has to be the weirdest. But two of the minigames really stand out. My favorite is called Beyond the Frontier. It's a cowboy game where you play as a gunfighter in a small city. This is a fully fleshed out game that has a story and everything. It's quite impressive. The other game that I had a lot of fun playing is called Cool Driver X. In this minigame, you drive around in a car, hitting jumps. It's simple, but a lot of fun. The in-game tablet was a super cool feature. The fact that the interface was on the control pad for the Wii U really helped to create an immersive experience. I had a lot of fun playing the tech pad. I spent easily 2 or 3 hours just experimenting with the different apps and minigames. Story mode really has a lot to sink your teeth into. The gameplay is fun, the plot is great, and the entire experience gets extra points for being unique and truly terrifying. Another game mode that's available is called Zero Chapter. This mode takes place during the daytime and allows the player to explore the map from story mode. In Zero Chapter, there's no enemies and no real objective other than to explore. It's basically a walking simulator. You don't play as Bjorna, but instead, you play as a nameless tourist who's visiting Silver Falls to hike the woods. As you explore, you'll come across other familiar faces from the Silver Falls universe. You can talk to these NPCs and learn more about the lore and history of Silver Falls. The coolest thing about Zero Chapter is that you have the option to move around using your Wii balance board. That's right, you heard me correctly. The Wii balance board. You simply lean forwards or backwards to move around. You still have the option to move around using the nunchuck or the Wii U control pad, but I, for one, was excited to use my Wii balance board, and it really was a cool experience. In fact, I think that's the first time I've ever actually used my balance board. The third and final mode available is called Frontier Hunters. This mode allows up to 5 players to team up and battle hordes of monsters. Frontier Hunters is an on-rails light gun game, only instead of light guns, 4 players use motion-sensing Wii remotes. The 5th player uses the Wii U gamepad and is able to reload weapons and use health power-ups on the other 4 players. As you play, you will be attacked by numerous creatures from the Silver Falls universe. This includes horrifying aliens and deranged mutated animals. The gameplay is competent, but more importantly, extremely fun. I'm pretty sure I even spent more time playing Frontier Hunters than the actual story mode. As you play, you will unlock different maps and have the chance to upgrade and level up characters. Once again, you also have the ability to unlock new characters using the code linker. White Inside's Umbra really is an amazing game. I'm so glad that I was able to download this game before the Wii U eShop closed. Unfortunately, this is one that I don't think we'll ever see ported over to the Switch. There's just too many in-game mechanics that make use of the Wii U's unique features. Honestly, I'm not even sure you could really emulate this using a PC. This is one game that really has to be experienced on its native console, and in this case, it is the Wii U. And finally, we have the last game on our list, the one that started it all. Let's have a look at my favorite in this series, Silver Falls 3 Down Stars. When I started prepping for this project, I was torn between talking about 3 Down Stars at the beginning of the video or at the end. Being the first game in the series makes it a good starting point, but I always save the best for last, and in my opinion, 3 Down Stars is still the Silver Falls title that has the most to offer. Sungrand Studios released this hidden gem in December of 2019. It was released exclusively to the new 3DS, hence the strange name, 3 Down Stars. Being the horror fan that I am, I downloaded the demo as soon as I became aware of it. The demo was an earlier version. There was quite a few glitches and bugs. The game was far from perfect, but it didn't matter. Like a tadpole in front of a whale shark, the town of Silver Falls had already pulled me in. I was both mesmerized and shocked at the sheer size of Silver Falls and just how much there was to explore. Furthermore, the characters, story, and overall atmosphere just really spoke to me. The game had a weird vibe. I felt like I was in an episode of The X-Files or The Outer Limits. I quickly made the decision to delete the demo and invest in the actual game. And I've been a fan of Silver Falls ever since. 3 Down Stars follows a series of paranormal events and phenomenon that have heavily affected the residents of Silver Falls. 3 strange metallic objects have fallen from the sky and have landed in different parts of town. Ever since the crash landing of these strange alien crafts, time in Silver Falls has somehow stopped. Almost every person has somehow become frozen in a moment in time. To make matters worse, the presence of these strange metallic spheres has somehow created pockets of radiation throughout town. These highly saturated areas are not only dangerous, but have caused the local wildlife to mutate and become extremely aggressive. Throughout the game, you play as 3 main characters. There's Holt, Annalise, and Moss. Holt is a composer who lives in the city, but has returned to Silver Falls to mourn his grandfather's death. Then we have Annalise. She's a local who's been helping her father run the annual Silver Falls Moose Steak Festival. On this strange day, she's been frantically trying to find her father to make sure that he's all right. And finally, we have Moss, the town sheriff. Moss grew up in Silver Falls and has recently begun investigating the strange events that have been reoccurring in his sleepy town. Throughout the game, you will have numerous chances to play as each protagonist. Now, usually, I'm not a big fan of when games force you to suddenly change characters, but Holt, Annalise, and Moss all control pretty much the exact same. Furthermore, there's a German Shepherd named Soldier that appears all over town and at each checkpoint. Each character can store weapons and items with Soldier. He's basically the box from Resident Evil. This allows players to transfer weapons and ammo between characters when a new chapter is started. It's obvious that Sungrand Studios was attempting to make this game as user-friendly as possible. This was highlighted with the game's saving mechanic. The player could create save files and record their progress using payphones that are scattered throughout town. But the game also conveniently autosaves whenever you enter a new door. These autosaves are secondary and don't affect the save files that you've already created at payphones. This way, if the game ever accidentally crashes, you'll never lose your progress. However, not everything in 3 Down Stars can be considered user-friendly. The combat, for instance, is quite clunky and takes a while to get a hang of. If I were to describe the combat experience as a whole, I would say it's a combination of Silent Hill 2 and Resident Evil 4. Similar to Silent Hill games, your melee attack is actually quite effective. Melee weapons are also plentiful and scattered throughout the town. The combat's pretty much the exact same as in episode Prelude. You can equip your character with an emergency weapon that's used if the enemy grabs you. When this happens, the weapons break on contact, but they deal a devastating amount of damage to the enemy, and they're often the difference between life or death. Truth be told, the melee combat is actually quite competent. The real problem is effectively using your guns. When you aim your weapon, the perspective goes behind your shoulder, similar to Resident Evil 4. Players then use the 3DS's C-stick to aim.
Nintendo 3DS XL system. What makes it new? For one, the C-stick. Better navigation.
For those that don't know, the C-stick was a feature that was only available on the new 3DS. This was Nintendo's solution to the demand for a second analog stick. You see, you kind of need two analog sticks to effectively play first and third person shooters.
New is good.
Unfortunately, the C stick was simply not a second analog stick. Sadly, it never really worked the way it was supposed to. In my opinion, it just wasn't responsive or precise enough to effectively be used for first or third person shooters. But the C stick is a failure on Nintendo's part, not Sungrand Studios, and rest assured, the less than adequate gun combat does not ruin the game. In fact, the janky combat actually makes encounters with enemies even more nerve-wracking. Survival horror veterans all remember the days of tank controls. Combat back then was frustrating, but only made the game that much more terrifying. As you complete each chapter, there will be certain objectives that must be completed to move on. Usually, these will require the player to find hidden items or complete rudimentary puzzles. There's also side missions available. These are optional, but completing these will sometimes unlock secret weapons and may even change the ending of the game. Another interesting element in the 3 Down Stars experience is something that the developer refers to as the Groundhog Day effect. During gameplay, if a player dies, they are then sent back to the beginning of the chapter. However, despite the game restarting, missions and objectives that have already been completed will not be reset. Items and weapons collected by the player will also be maintained and carry over. This interesting Groundhog Day mechanic can be used to the player's advantage. This allows them to affect the outcome of the storyline and game. In the context of the game's narrative, the characters are also self-aware of this strange phenomenon. They rely on this to resurrect them should they die in battle. This cause and effect mechanic is tied directly to the problem solving and puzzles that players will encounter throughout the game. The first entry in the Silver Falls saga also features the first Frontier Fighters mode. Inspired by the minigames available within Resident Evil called the Mercenaries, Frontier Fighters allows players to complete short, action-based missions. There's different characters and missions available, and more content can be unlocked using the Code Linker system. The Frontier Fighters minigame really is a nice bonus, and along with the Code Linker, 3 Down Stars is a game that provides plenty of fun even after you've beaten the main story. This truly is a great survival horror game, and is one that I would highly recommend checking out. Unfortunately, it didn't get a chance to grow a large fan base when it was first released. At that point in time, the life of the 3DS was coming to a close, so new digital games just weren't on people's radar. Negative reviews online didn't help either. As I mentioned earlier, 3 Down Stars had some pretty severe bugs when it was first launched. Now, all of these issues were eventually fixed, but I think these initial problems stopped the game from getting the credit and respect that it was due. If you can't tell, I'm a huge fan of 3 Down Stars. Now, I can recommend this game till I'm blue in the face, but the sad reality is that this game died back when the eShop closed. It was digital only and was exclusive to the 3DS. Now, you can probably still enjoy this game through emulation on a PC or a 3DS that has custom firmware. But these backdoor options of playing games through shady means can be kind of a pain in the ass in my opinion. I'm lazy and would rather just pay for a game and enjoy it, without having to jump through hoops just to get it running. My hope is that one day, 3 Down Stars will be released on the Switch. The gameplay in episode Prelude and 3 Down Stars is almost the exact same, so it's definitely possible, but it wouldn't be a small job, especially considering that Sungrand Studios is just one person.
Oh, you surprised me there. I didn't notice you. Go ahead and grab a seat. We can enjoy the fire together. I'm Jarrell. I developed the Silver Falls games, Clash Ball, and I'll be launching a couple new games later this year as well.
That's right. Each and every Silver Falls game was single-handedly created by one person. This guy, Jarrell Dulé. I've been following him on YouTube for a while now, and he's clearly very passionate about the games that he develops. He's a one-man show that not only writes and programs his games, but he even composes the music as well. It's quite impressive. And Jarrell does more than just program games. In fact, on the official Silver Falls website, he's even written a horror novel called Heavy Shadow that of course takes place in Silver Falls. Jarrell also has an official Sungrand Studios YouTube channel. Here, he discusses game development and other topics related to gaming. Both his channel and website are super cool, and I highly recommend checking them out. Well folks, that is the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching, I really appreciate it. I hope everyone enjoyed learning about one of my favorite indie horror series. I will see everyone in the next video. Until then, this is Rare Play Gaming, signing off.